my hoopy froods. I'm Stu Jackson here with Hailing Frequencies, here to talk to you today about Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy because it is Towel Day. So pour yourself a Pan-Galactic Gargle Blaster, put your feet up as we go into the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Far out in the uncharted backwaters of the unfashionable end of the western spiral arm of the galaxy lies a small, unregarded yellow sun. Orbiting this at a distance of roughly 98 million miles is an utterly insignificant little blue-green planet whose ape-descended life forms are so amazingly primitive that they still think digital watches are a pretty neat idea. And so begins the opening lines of what is, for me at least, one of the greatest fiction books ever to exist, The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Now we're talking about this because it is Towel Day today, and I thought I'd share with you not only thoughts on the book itself, but the whole gamut of different forms that the Hitchhiker's Guide has taken. Now it starts way back in time when Douglas Adams was still a student and hitchhiking his way around Europe. He found himself drunk in a field one night and this idea came to him. About this amazing idea, he looked at his battered copy of The Hitchhiker's Guide to Europe and thought, what if there was a Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy? What would that look like? What would it contain? All that kind of thing. Unfortunately, the next day he sobered up and he forgot about it. Fast forward about 10 years and Douglas Adams gets commissioned a radio series. The year 1978 and the radio series is produced. This is the first ever version of The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. The following year, there's a stage production. A lot of people don't realise there was a stage production of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Now, as a professional actor and producer and director, I have been desperately trying to get hold of a copy of that script, and I can't get hold of it for love nor money, which is really disappointing. I'm not going to stop trying, so keep your eyes peeled. If you come across a copy of this script for the stage play of Hitchhiker's Guide, do please let me know. I will love you forever. But that's 1979. Stage production comes out. Also later that year, we get the first novelisation of The Hitchhiker's Guide. This is titled The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. 1980, you get more radio series, and in fact more radio series will progress as the years go on, and you get the second novel in the trilogy. This time it is The Restaurant at the End of the Universe. 1981, we get the TV series, and this is perhaps one of the most famous versions of The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. The BBC produced an amazing TV series back in the day, and generally speaking, when I go back on Towel Day, that's what I tend to watch. 1982, we get the third book in the trilogy, Life, the Universe and Everything. 1984, we get a computer game, The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, and Douglas Adams loved his computers, there's no doubt about it. So yes, and we also get the fourth book in the trilogy. Yes, that's how he advertised it. This fourth book, So Long and Thanks for All the Fish. Obviously named after the final message that the dolphins gave us before they departed the earth prior to its destruction. And then in 1992, so from 1994 to 92, times were a bit barren in those 8 years, but 1992 we get the fifth book in the trilogy and the final official book from Douglas Adams, mostly harmless. Now this one is named, of course, after the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy entry on Earth, which was originally harmless, and then after 20 years being stranded on Earth, Ford Prefect managed to update it, and it got updated to mostly harmless. Douglas Adams sadly passed away back in 2001, but in 2005, after many years of being promised it was coming, we finally got the feature film Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Now, it had a lot going for it, the film, it's got to be said. The acting was superb. The casting was absolutely brilliant, but the reimagining, it fell a bit short for me in many ways. Marvin, his android form, I mean, brilliantly voiced by Alan Rickman, but his android form looked a bit too cheerful, a bit too happy. Yeah, and the whole Zaphod with his two heads. So let me talk about the characters in The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. It follows the exploits of Arthur Dent, who awakes one morning to discover that his home is about to be demolished, and he finds himself in his pyjamas still, outside, lying in front of a bulldozer. Along comes his friend, Ford Prefect, who he'd known for many years and was a bit of a weirdo, gotta be said, but this was passed off by being explained as, well, he is an out-of-work actor. What are we trying to say there, Douglas? Yeah, so Ford Prefect is in fact a hitchhiker from the planet Betelgeuse. Sorry then, digging up the pavement outside my window. Oh, where was I? Yes, so Ford Prefect, whose name was chosen because he thought it sounded nicely inconspicuous, reveals to Arthur that he is in fact from Betelgeuse, not Guildford, as he previously claimed, and that the Earth was about to be demolished to make way for a and that the Earth is about to be demolished to make way for a hyperspace bypass. The two of them manage to hitch a ride on the Vogon craft, and from there they end up meeting up with The two of them manage to hitch a ride on the Vogon craft, and from there they end up meeting with Zaphod Beeblebrox, who looks perfectly normal, except he's got 2 heads and 3 arms. Tricia Macmillan, also from Earth, who Arthur had previously met at a party and completely and utterly failed to get off with, who now likes to be called Trillian, and of course Marvin, the paranoid android. And all of them go off and have their fantastic adventures together. Now, each of the different versions of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, the radio version, the stage version, the book version, the TV series, the computer game, the movie, all take completely different directions pretty much at this point, and go their separate ways. So they are telling different stories. Now, the original idea that Douglas Adams had back in 1978 was to have different episodes each week featuring different characters, following different plots, but simply that the Earth ended in some way, was destroyed or collapsed or whatever at the end of each episode. That was the one thing that they had in common. But people liked the characters from this version so much, that's the ones that they decided to follow through. I'm a huge fan of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. It's been with me most of my life. I got introduced to the novels first of all as a kid, then the TV series, and yeah, it's one of those books that I just keep going back and rereading repeatedly many times. So I hope you enjoy Hitchhiker's Guide. If you've not read it, go out, get a copy, read it. I assure you, you will absolutely love it. So there we are. I'm going to go off. I'm probably going to watch the film this year because, you know, might see if it's grown on me. You never know. But do something to mark Towel Day. Hey, if nothing else, it's an excuse to stay in your pajamas all day long, because I never do that. Except this one day a year, obviously. But one thing's for sure, I will be making a cup of something that is almost, but not quite, entirely unlike tea, and I'll be enjoying Towel Day. In the meantime, make sure you know where your towel is, and see you next time.